Alright, today we're going to be talking about the 7 wonders of surviving Mars. 7 buildings that will allow you to propel your society into the atmosphere and allow you to basically run the game completely and totally uncontested. We're going to be walking through these left to right as they are displayed in the Wonder menu, as described with a big star in your GUI as you unlock the Wonder menu once you research one of them. And, well, we're going to go and talk about them right here, right now. First off, we have the Artificial Sun. Now, the Artificial Sun is basically a gigantic fusion reactor that requires 1,000 units of water before it runs on optimal capacity. It also takes 3 units of polymer, so in order to keep it up to date, if it shuts down at any point due to it not having enough polymer, it will require yet again 1,000 water. In order to build this, you will need 160 concrete, 240 metals, and 300 polymer, and it has a base production output of 1,000 energy. Essentially, you will never ever need to build any sort of power supply ever again. In my opinion, it is probably one of the best ones to start because all the other wonders do use up quite a significant amount of energy. Then we have the space elevator. The space elevator on Earth may be a dream. However, on Mars, considering its lower gravity, a space elevator is a lot more practical. Basically, what this means is you can import and export goods a lot easier and a lot cheaper due to you just shipping stuff off into space. It has a consumption of 40 energy, which is why we talked about the Artificial Sun earlier, and a maintenance of 3 machine parts. At 320 concrete, 160 metal, 150 polymers, and 150 machine parts, it is quite expensive, but also quite useful, especially later in the game if you're running out of resources or if you're overproducing with one of the next wonders when it comes to exporting your materials. Because, well, let's put it this way, the next wonder is going to cause problems with that. Then we have the Mow Whole Mine. Mow Whole stands for Mohorovic Discontinuity, which is the part of the Earth's crust where crust gives way to mantle, basically the bit where all the materials become nice and soft. You can easily bring them back up, and that's exactly what this machine does. This gigantic hole in the ground produces metals and rare metals. There's also waste rock, which you can obviously liquefy. It heats the surrounding area as well, so if you're running into problems with cold waves, then you can totally build this. It has a maintenance of 3 machine parts, which is absolutely minimal, a consumption of 40 energy. Once again, building that initial Artificial Sun is quite useful, but it also produces 50 metals and 20 rare metals, and that is incredibly useful because by the time you build this thing, you'll have difficulty trying to get these materials. You'll have to spread out more. This thing will infinitely produce all of this, and at a low cost of 320 concrete, 80 metals, and 300 machine parts, that is a really good deal, and in my opinion, probably the second best device in the game. Then we have the Omega Telescope. The Omega Telescope is basically a way to boost the amount of technologies, specifically breakthrough technologies that you can have, and will boost overall research as well. At a consumption of 80 energy, it's probably one of the bigger ones, and with a maintenance of 3 electronic parts is kind of intensive. However, at 320 concrete, 240 metal, and 300 electronic parts, it's definitely interesting if you want to boost your tech at the end of the game, or if you've gone through the entire trajectory and you want to get yourself a couple of more breakthrough technologies just to smooth things out while you cover the entire map in domes. Project Morpheus. Project Morpheus is probably the last building you will ever build in the game, as it basically generates new perks in adult colonists throughout your entire colony. Any colonist that does not have its entire perk list completely full will be able to randomly learn new perks, which is kind of a big deal. Getting all of a sudden a bunch of enthusiasts or sexy people out of nowhere is pretty great. Again, a consumption power of 110 is pretty high, but maintenance cost of 3 electronic parts pretty low by the time you built this. The cost of 160 concrete and 320 metal, as well as 300 electronic parts, quite easy to deal with by the time, like I said, that you get this particular building. Then we have the Excavator. The Excavator is a gigantic concrete generating device. Basically what it does is it's very similar to the Mow Whole Mine, where it just generates infinite amount of resources, in this particular case concrete, which is rather good, considering concrete is one of the more difficult resources in the late game to get a hold of, as they get mined out relatively quickly. They consume 30 energy. It's got a maintenance of 3 machine parts with a base production of 50 concrete. It costs 80 concrete though, so after about a day and a half you should be able to get that back, but at 240 metals and 200 machine parts it's kind of pricey, so please keep an eye on that. Then we have the Geoscape Dome. Basically, this is a mega dome with the inside being completely useless because somebody has parked a bunch of rocks inside of it. Basically, what it does is it improves the comfort of all residents within the dome, as it is apparently a slice of Earth on Mars. This makes me think, by the time that you built this thing, you think that the Martians would have their own colony and don't actually look at Earth all that much, you know, with all the green stuff that's going on there and those blue skies and whatnot. Regardless, it generates 25 comfort in all residents, and at a consumption of 40 energy and 10 water with a maintenance of 3 polymers is pretty decent, but it also costs 400 concrete, 200 metal, and 300 polymers. This wraps up this video regarding the 7 wonders of surviving Mars. These are the end game buildings. You can build all of them, you don't have to, but it's definitely a challenge. You will get a little achievement for it as well if you built one of these. Exciting stuff. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, take good care of yourselves and, as always, each other.